One thing is clear, is that the normal constitutional channels that you would think would be in control of that aren't. Truman administration set up a body that was outside of the normal constitutional framework of our United States government. And it was made up of major elite people that they view as the real power elite.
A shadowy government with its own Air Force, its own Navy, its own fundraising mechanism, and the ability to pursue its own ideas of the national interest, free from all checks and balances, and free from the law itself.
It's sort of a shadow government within the government, not just in the United States, but all around the world. And the kind of power they have, both financially, technologically, and the means of projecting power militarily is much greater than anything that the conventional military or the conventional government or the President of the United States has. Eisenhower knew it, and by the time he left office was very upset about it.
In the councils of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
But the people who make a lot of money from war and a lot of control of the populace through fear did not want that. So they circled their limousines and sort of moved aside the good people who would have been arguing for that. And that included Eisenhower.
We must also be alert to the equal and opposite danger that public policy could itself become the captive of a scientific, technological elite.
The fascist element that is owning most of the stock in the major corporations, especially the oil corporations and the natural gas corporations and the pharmaceutical industry, the railroads, the shipping lines. Virtually all these people are fascists, all during the robber baron era. That's what they did. They laid claim to those areas of our American economy, and they've never relinquished them.
Those families and those interests became the foundation of the post-World War II military and intelligence and industrialists. The military-industrial complex, as Eisenhower called it, became very powerful and developed clandestine, covert, unacknowledged special access projects that eventually moved the president out of the way and pushed Eisenhower outside the inner circle. I tell people that that was the era when the presidency was decapitated.
Fascism isn't, somebody wearing, a monocle and six-league boots with a saber scar, and all that stuff, and strutting around in Nazi uniforms. A fascist is a person who believes that the best way to develop the economic resources of the planet and to distribute them among people is to get a hold of them and have exclusive privileged access to these strategic raw materials, and have the corporations that have access to these strategic raw materials, and to be able to put them through the machinery that they pay for and that they invest in and establishing in producing these products and hiring people. And they believe that that's the best way to have their economy function. And so that the instrumentalities of the state, of the government, are put at the disposal of the private interests of the corporations. That's exactly what was going on in Germany. The Krupps and the ball bearing factories and the IG Farben corporations, all those big, huge corporations in Germany, they were all privately owned. In fact, they were financed by Brown Brothers Harriman and giving the loans to the post-World War I Germany to build them back up.
Andrew Mellon had intimate dealings with Hjalmar Schacht, who was Hitler's private banker. And so did Sullivan and Cromwell. This is dirty, nasty history. Oh, invest in Nazi Germany. Hitler's a great guy. He's a Republican. Don't worry about it. You'll make lots of money. And then Standard Oil, through straw man in Portugal, all during the war. Business thrives during war. You know that. It's a racket.
That whole concept of fascism, and it's a word that gets totally misused because people somehow conflate it with just authoritarianism. But it's a very narrow definition, and it's an accurate definition of what it was that the Central Intelligence Agency was doing, actually promulgating the private interest of the major corporations. And they were putting at the disposal of the interests of those corporations all the instrumentalities of the United States government, most importantly, the military and their intelligence operations and their covert operations.
We're keeping the oil. We have the oil. The oil is secure. We left troops behind only for the oil.
Because they basically believed that what's good for General Motors is good for America. And it was an entire theory of economic development. And so that they viewed anybody who interfered with that in any way at all as an enemy of the United States. And so that's how the national security state got really established and institutionalized.
Fascism and the fascistic proclivities of these big industrialists and very powerful people, they know they really can't control 8 billion people unless they first control their minds and their beliefs and their attitudes.
As Nazi war criminal Hermann Göring said at the Nuremberg trial, the people can always be brought to the bidding of the leaders. This is easy. All you have to do is tell them they are being attacked and denounce the pacifists for lack of patriotism and exposing the country to danger. It works the same in any country.
The buffoonery of the Third Reich was instructive, and they learned that that kind of behavior wouldn't be effective. So they went subterranean. They went covert. People don't understand. We won the battle of World War II. We did not win that war.